All right. What's up, y'all? I am here with Data. Do y'all call yourself Data?
Yeah, we
Data.
go by data. The full is Dallas Area Transit Alliance, but data's way less syllables.
Cool. And I'm here with David and Tyler. And I think, I guess the name is somewhat self-explanatory in a way, but like pitch, introduce yourselves and give the pitch of what Data is.
Sure, I'll go ahead and start. My name is Tyler Wright. So I'm here with David. Both of us are pretty much founding members. I'm the current vice president of the Transit Alliance, and we started last July. We got started officially last July in response to some Dallas suburbs passing city resolutions in support of cutting funding. This eventually led to a legislative fight in Austin just this past spring, where we had bills designed to cut DART's funding. DART is Dallas's transit system, by 25% or more, which would have been pretty devastating to the region. We either use DART because we choose to or because we need to, and we got over 100 active members, and thousands of people who wrote in support using our campaigns. So on top of all that, we're just kind of committed to building, Dallas Transit, advancing the conversation. A lot of us are pretty wonky when it comes to transit planning and policy, so we know a few things from our experience that we try to educate local leaders on, so that eventually people understand the value and want to build transit more than ignore it or delete it. Did I miss anything, David?
No, I think you covered it fantastically. Hi, I'm David Yacobian. I handle external affairs for the Dallas Area Transit Alliance. And, we've just been working very hard since we started this organization the past year, whether it's fighting legislation, as Tyler just said, or whether it's working with local leaders to help educate them and help them think about new possibilities and think about a brighter transit-oriented future here in the Dallas area, which the people we represent, the ridership, would benefit from, but the whole community across DFW would benefit from it, both economically, uh, uh, socially, quality of life, air quality. These things are of top concern in the region. So,
Okay. Let me give a bit of my background because I actually have a bit of a connection here.
Perfect.
I went to UT Dallas. Actually, I'm from Houston.
me too.
Nice. From
It's
Houston or
go
UT
Mavericks.
Dallas?
Say
David,
again?
you're from Houston or you went to UT Dallas?
I went to UT Dallas.
Gotcha. Whoosh, I guess.
Whoosh.
I'm from Houston. Went to school in Dallas. When I was going to school in Dallas, I was not a transit guy at all. I mean, I was out in Richardson. I was from Houston. I think the peak of like my transit usage was taking the DART a few times, really because my friend Brenton talked me into it. We took the bike to whatever the station was, like 75 in Arapahoe,
Yeah.
and for people who aren't from Dallas, like Richardson is this basically suburb of Dallas that UT Dallas is in. Maybe it should be called UT Richardson. I don't know.
Right.
And we would sometimes take the DART into town to, like, I don't know, hang out in Lower Greenville or whatever, and then for the most part it's pretty car dependent. And I never lived in Dallas proper. I had a job in like Plano, like an internship, and I would like drive there. And like Plano is obviously very sprawling, other than like the DART station there. So I guess like I want to just ask, what is your pitch to transit skeptical Texans who are like, how does this help me? Why should I even care?
Yeah, I think a few things that matter to people who are transit skeptical is, so DART carries between 150 and 200,000 rides a day. So that's over 100,000 cars that are not on the road. So even if you never take Dart, never want to take Dart, we're helping you get through that stoplight. We're helping you not get backed up on DNT, and stuff like that. Additionally, there's a lot of cases where Dart's getting better and better build out. So, for example, I live in Addison, so we're going to get the Silver Line regional rail, which is actually 30 minutes to the airport. I can get an Uber for about 25 minutes for 10 times the cost, or I can take a train directly in for $3. And so things like that, where it's like, as we get more build out, there are things that the time is getting better. Taking transit only takes a little bit more time than driving usually, because traffic's getting so much worse. So I think that's kind of an easy one for the lay people of like, hey, what's in it for me? Well, if you don't want to take it to the state fair, or you don't want to take it, having more people who can take it will save you trouble in traffic. And then on top of that, a lot of people, I've been in Dallas my whole life. I didn't know we were I never thought of us as like a smoggy place, but even in how flat we are here in Dallas, there's, you can see, smog and stuff like that kind of build up
smog.
Because there's just so many people here. And, well, transit, especially our light rail, has no emissions at the point of service, right? So air quality is a massive factor here. People like to have nice air, regardless of what you think about transit. So having more transit will mean better air, stuff like that. And then I've tried to convince my friends of kind of the fun factor. I'm a guy who likes to read, but I don't have as much time to read. But I can make excuses for it if I say, I'll take Dart here, and I can read on the bus, or I can read on the train. I don't have to worry if I go out and have a couple drinks how I'm going to get home, pay for a supercharged Uber. You just take the Dart and I get home safe. So I think the types of things you can do, the comparison of services is getting more viable, and just that kind, and the smog in air quality are pretty big things to people who aren't transit focused, policy wonk types. So, David, did I miss anything?
No, I just want to re-emphasize what you said. I can't emphasize enough how bad and how much worse the traffic here in DFW is continuing to get. Trips that used to take me 30, 35 minutes is pushing to 40, 45 minutes, and so on. And it's only going to get worse as we continue to grow. And given the amount of people that have come to the state, that are continuing to come to the state, and many of them coming to DFW, there's no future. There's not a future worth living in if transit isn't part of the picture. We have to have transit to get around town. People, yeah. No one likes, raise your hand. Do you like sitting in traffic? Hell no. No one likes sitting in traffic. It doesn't brighten anyone's day. It's way more relaxing sitting on a train, sitting on a bus, reading a book, catching up on Instagram or TikTok. It's just a lot more chill. And then on top of that, listen, Dallas, it's a business city. It's an entrepreneurial city. I think a lot of business folks and entrepreneurs, if many of them see the benefit to transit-oriented development, but some are unaware and don't realize to what extent the increased foot traffic for them, how they would benefit from that. So I think there's a huge argument to be made toward the business and entrepreneurial community here in DFW that, hey, this will benefit you tenfold in ways you don't realize yet.
Oh, funny story, David. In the context of transit-oriented development, Thomas, you know of Deep Ellum, right? You've been here long enough.
Yeah, I've been there many times.
Okay, cool. So,
my favorite dance club in the world is It'll Do in Deep Ellum.
Okay, yeah, I'm a big fan of the Bomb Factory myself. I've seen a few shows there.
Okay.
But recently they've been having some trouble, I think, with like rowdiness later at night. So I think on Fridays and Saturdays they actually closed the streets.
Yes.
And people were really concerned about it. But there have been a couple of newspaper reports that say foot traffic was just as good, if not better, at the bars and nightclubs. even though they close the streets to cars. And Deep Ellum is served by 2 DART stations and I think a couple of bus lines. Perfect fit. I'd be way more comfortable in Deep Ellum. I've been too busy to go clubbing lately, but I'd be way more comfortable taking the DART, walking a block instead of fighting for parking or dealing with all the loud cars that go through. So I think there's, if you really sit people down and say, where are your favorite places around? It's places where it's hard to get cars into. Bishop Arts is hard to park in. It's easier to walk around, and there's tons of stuff to do. Even a shopping mall. I mean, yeah, you got to park at the shopping mall, but the experience of being inside one, you're not dealing with traffic and roads and everything. It's comfortable to walk around in.
Yes.
Most people's favorite places are places where it's fun to walk around and buy things and do things. So, it's this has been a good conversation because it's good to remind why, like, the basics of why we do things, not because we need to move X number of things and do X number of jobs, but just because the experience can literally be better while maintaining or improving business.
Yes. Can't agree more.
I would say, I don't want to. I'm already going to be fighting people in Deep Ellum. I don't want to fight for parking.
Yeah, seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's you want the fight to start partway through the night, not at the parking spot.
No, I'm joking. I've always had a good time in Deep Ellum. I think I maybe have missed some of the worst part. I wasn't there like during the pandemic and stuff. I don't spend a ton of time in Dallas. Now I usually go to DreamHack like once a year, and that's at the convention center. So last time I was at, every time I'm in downtown Dallas, I'm like, this is a great downtown. Like, it's got a lot of great bones. It's just a little bit too car centric. I don't know. It's just like the lane. There's too many lanes. There's so much parking. Like Austin, like we are behind on rail transit, but the thing that we have on the other Texas cities is that we have like a much more, I feel like, livable downtown.
Oh yeah,
very.
And I'm
walkable.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how, like, the history behind that, other than just like Houston and Dallas sprawled out harder at some point. I don't know.
I think it's because no one really wanted to go to Austin until recently. It's only recently that Austin had such a boom as it has now.
Yeah, at least like the thing that drives jobs and technology and super investment beyond like good live music and UT Austin, right? But even my buddies, I got a couple friends who went to school at UT Austin, so I would visit a couple times a year. And even back in like the mid 2010s, I was like, wow, this downtown feels a lot more lively than when I visit Fort Worth or Dallas.
Right.
And so, I had a good time. I think the hills and the riverfront help a lot. But even when David and I, we were there in April to lobby for data, and we had a couple nights there, so we walked to places, we saw a bunch of things in downtown, and it was awesome. I was really, really impressed.
Yeah, same. It was so enjoyable. We went, grabbed us some P. Terry's, just hung out. People are out walking about, going on runs, walking the dog, whatever, and just you feel the presence of other human beings.
Yeah, because I just moved from downtown. I live in East Austin now.
Okay.
And it's crazy how. Did you guys go on the hike and bike trail?
I hadn't had the chance to yet. I don't think so.
No, we were on like the other side of the river from downtown. That was where our hotel was.
You probably
by
south.
one of the amphitheaters. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always say our best piece of infrastructure here in Austin is the hike and bike trail. It's like a 13-mile trail that goes around the river. What is your opinion? What is the best piece of transit or pedestrian or walk, whatever infrastructure in Dallas? Is it just the DART line, like one of them?
I think things Dallas has got going for it. I think Bishop Art's probably my favorite neighborhood. It's in Oak Cliff, just a bit southwest of downtown, and it's accessible by a streetcar. It's not a great streetcar, but it is accessible, and they've really built it out over the past 10 years. There's a diversity of shops, businesses. I think there's, you got your lawyers, your real estate agents who are in there too, but and the buildings are older, they've got history, they're building housing around it, but also maintaining some of the older stuff. That's the gentrification, very complex issue. I can't speak for it because I'm a northern suburb guy, but as far as an experience of like, if I'm going to take the Dart to something that I know will be fun, it'll be that. But even Uptown, Clyde
So
Warren Park
where
good.
does is there a Dart station at Bishop Arts, or is it like a separate streetcar that you get on in downtown? Or
So yeah, there's a streetcar in downtown, and they've got 3 or 4 stops before they hit Bishop Arts. I think it's like a 10 to 15 minute ride, and then the Bishop Arts streetcar station. It used to be away from the development by a block or two, but Bishop Arts has grown so that when you step outside that station, you're in the newer part, and it feels like a much shorter walk to the original, core of the neighborhood than it used to. So it's a really good experience when that streetcar is running, and seeing the diversity of housing and businesses there is just it's a good place to shop. It's a good place to eat.
yeah, I've been. I like it. How do you get there from? I don't know what suburb you're in, but like, how does Dart benefit you? Do you live close enough to a Dart station, or do you just have buses? Or
Oh well, so Addison is. I mean,
Oh,
we're
you're in
right by
Addison.
Richardson. Yeah, yeah. So you might have come through once. I'm in Addison Circle, one of the more densely built neighborhoods, and we've got a transit station at the southern end of our neighborhood, right along Arapahoe. So that used to be just buses, but since Addison is so central to the Dart service area, I can take a Dart bus to any city. And there's a couple direct ones that take me to downtown. So it's pretty easy to get around with just the buses if I live in Addison, but we're also getting that Silver Line, which will take me to Richardson, Plano, and then the airport in Carrollton on the other end. So it serves me very well. My fiance and I, we sold our second car, so when she goes into work, I bike or I take the Dart, and we've been doing that for almost 2 years now.
That's lovely.
I feel like that you brought up something important, like with selling the second car, because I think I'm not sure this is the best way to sell it to people.
Yeah.
I don't know about the political strategy, but I do think a lot of people think about like, oh, are we going to become Manhattan? Are we going to become Neo Tokyo or whatever? And it's like, realistically, Texas cities, we need to be thinking about the next 10 years and not just what's going to happen in 50 years. I don't know. But like in the next 5-10 years, it's very realistic for a lot of people to, improve their neighborhoods, go down from 2 cars to 1 car, or 3 cars to 2 cars or whatever, drop 1 car. Like,
Yeah.
the city that transit pilled me was Seattle because I moved there for work after I graduated from UT
yeah.
Dallas. And the thing is Seattle is not even like some kind of transit paradise. It's not New York,
Yeah.
it's not Tokyo, it's not Singapore or whatever. It's not Berlin. But they've done a good job of building like a core rail system so that if you want to be the person that has 1 less car or no car, you have that opportunity. It's like to me, for a lot of Texas cities, we should not really be looking at New York or Chicago necessarily. We should be looking at Seattle. We should be looking at cities that are 1 step ahead of us because realistically, that's probably like our best path
Best bet,
forward.
at
Best
least in the
bet.
short term.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think I can speak on that because, well, for example, the city I love to reference a lot. I've been a couple of times. I have family up there. Is Toronto, Canada, and I think that's something that's attainable for Dallas, having the regional rail, the streetcars, we can't quite have subways necessarily, but but otherwise light rail, and then just more improved walkability and bike friendliness and better trails and paths for pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah.
This is all very attainable for Dallas with its current infrastructure, with modest modifications. Just need the will and the effort to make it so. And I tell you what, as far as trying to walk back how many cars we have and this sort of thing. Listen, it's getting more and more expensive to own a vehicle. I just had my truck in the shop. I had to borrow a car to go down to Austin recently, and I had my truck in the shop. And I mean, I'm spending nearly, I'm spending several $100s, getting damn near close to $1,000 every time I gotta take my truck in the shop for some normal wear and tear, somewhat serious work, but it's not like they're taking the engine apart and I'm already blowing $500 to $700 taking it into the shop just for some suspension work. People are having a hard time affording this sort of thing. So even if people, they don't want to give up that independence of having a car, having that option. That's fine. You can keep your car, keep your truck, have that option. But if you could, instead of using your car 100% of the time, use it 20% of the time, that would still be a huge benefit, improving air quality, right? Decreasing the likelihood of accidents or, hitting a pedestrian or whatever it may be. And that's less wear and tear on your car, so you're having to blow that $500 to $700 less often to maintain that vehicle. Because if you're close enough to a bus or rail station, or if you can walk to work, right? Then okay, you can spend that commute time during the week, 5 days a week. You can spend that using transit or walking or cycling. And then maybe you drive your car on the weekends. And if we had majority of people doing that, Lord, we'd be in a different world.
Yeah, I think one thing we struggle with here is the last mile, because a lot of people, if I talk to a next door, they're like, "How do you take the Dart? It's so hot. Don't you hate being sweaty?" It's like, yeah, I do. I've adapted. I bring ways to clean myself up if I take the Dart, my bike into work or anything. Because I like transit as an idea, so I'm willing to suffer through some things, right? But that last mile thing really is a concern. When the buses got great AC, once you're on it, you're moving just as fast as the cars are. It's just fine. But once it drops you off and you're even just half a mile from where you need to be, and it's just concrete and no sidewalk or something, no shade, no anything, that is a tough sell. That last mile is probably the hardest sell Dart has right now. And so I think,
So by last mile, do you mean, let's say, the walk you have to make to the bus stop?
Sure.
Or whatever?
Yeah, the walk you need to make to the bus stop or work itself, or if work doesn't have like a shower that you can, change into your business clothes for, right? I think some bigger corporate offices do, but not everyone does. That's where it's just like, well, I would take the bus if I could, but I just don't have the services I need where I'm going, or it's hard for me to get to the service that is admittedly pretty decent when you're on it, that it's just tough for them to think about. So it's not just car brain kind of attitudes. It's the fact that it can sometimes be genuinely difficult to get on the Dart.
Yeah, it can be that first stretch or last stretch, like you said. And I'm a perfect example of that as far as, I have to live much more car dependently than I would like. I live in Grand Prairie. It's a suburb between Dallas and Fort Worth, or Dallas and Arlington, and I'm 20 minutes from a DART station, a rail line, and I would love to have rail right there, but it's not. So I have to really plan ahead if I ever use rail. I have to really plan the day ahead and stuff like that. And if I'm in a rush to get to work, well, I'm gonna have to just drive. But it still comes in handy for me. If I know I'm going to be spending the day downtown, I have a lot of meetings and a bunch of different things going on, what I can do is hop on plan ahead, get there early, and hop on, drive the 20 minutes to the station, hop on the train, go on the train, and then use transit.
Oh, you have to drive 20 minutes to the station?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're Park and Ride Central, man. We've got...
That's wild.
Park your car and take the train into the city. That starts original service model.
Oh, I mean that's fine, but yeah. I thought you were talking about you had to walk 20 minutes to the station. You got to drive 20 minutes to the station.
No, I drive 20 minutes because I'm in Grand Prairie, and then I just hop across a lake and I'm over in Oak Cliff, and I can go to like the Westmoreland or Hampton station, and so I hop on the red line and I can make my way to downtown. And that's worth it if, again, I know I'm going to have a long day downtown or something like that, or if I got meetings, or if I know it's going to be a busy day downtown and I don't want to, pay for the parking. Parking is more and more expensive downtown. That's a factor, economic factor for people. And so it makes utilizing transit more and more worth it, as parking's likely going to become more and more expensive.
Parking is one of the great evils of this world, and
yeah.
One of the best ways to defeat it is transit, is biking, is walking, and no Texan, I think, likes dealing with parking in central spaces, but I think that their brain goes to, we just need to build more parking, or we just need to build more highways, and that's a very difficult cultural virus to battle.
Yeah,
indeed. Yeah, the only front you can fight it on easily is like cost. It's like, hey, it's $6 for me to get in and out of downtown if I'm there all day on Dart. I'd be stupid not to take it. It's maybe 15 to 30 to park for that period of time. And then you got to deal with, like, have you guys ever gone up like 10 floors of a parking garage in that circle? I feel like it's never going to end. It's just parking sucks. So that's but at the same time, you're right, Thomas. People are like, oh, they just need more of it, and then it'll be fine. But it's a self-defeating problem.
Yeah.
So. And on top of that, I mean, let's look at the facts. I can step out, just go down the road, and look at an empty, underutilized parking lot that never goes past 50-60% utilization, right? So we waste a lot of the parking spaces we do have. There is a huge amount of waste, and unfortunately, a lot of cities lack proper flexibility, because of parking minimums and this sort of thing, lack flexibility in their code when in some areas you have too much parking, and so you're creating unnecessary problems of heat island effects, etc. And then
question.
You might.
Do you have parking minimums still? You do still.
Dallas still has parking minimums.
They're significantly reduced. Like, the reform is a step in the right direction.
Exactly.
But Dallas still has them. Most of the suburbs still have them.
Yeah.
It's insane to me how that's such a strong. Because if you get on Nextdoor, or you interact with what we might call normies in on neighborhood email lists, things like that, it's like parking. Where am I going to park is so important to people.
Yes,
it's crazy.
And they're always like, oh, how do you get to these places? And it's like, I just, in cases where it is downtown, where it's hard to park and there's density of things to do, the last mile problem for Dart is solved. So getting to downtown is super easy, and it's much less stressful. But it's like, people just, I haven't figured out, I know we're kind of going in circles, but like, trying to get that, you don't need more parking. It actually doesn't help you. Because you can park your way into having absolutely nothing.
The parking is just the deadest of dead space.
Exactly. So you can have more parking and less reason to be there, which is like kind of one of the great ironies.
I try to take like a very like what occurs to me is, like, if I just think statistically, like, I've traveled the world, I've been lucky to go to a lot of places in the world, and like, there's just a very strong correlation between places I want to be and less parking or less cars. Like, I don't want to go hang out in a sprawly suburb, really. Like, I'm not saying nobody's going to live in suburbs or whatever. Like, that's always going to be a thing. I'm just saying, like, we are in cities and we're trying to make our cities better. Like, can't we be a little smarter about this? I don't know.
Well, and not only that, but suburbs don't have to be so car-centric. A close friend of mine just
Sure.
came back from spending a year in Germany, and their suburbs are extremely walkable. They're still transit oriented. Um, you don't have useless, giant useless front yards, right? You don't, it's just it's designed so much better. So another thing we have is a design problem. So as we continue to, there's a lot of places throughout Dallas. Again, gentrification is a complex topic, but there's a lot of different districts that are being redeveloped. So we could at least have an input on design and okay, if redevelopment, if we can't avoid this redevelopment, let's at least redevelop it right. And so we have to be thoughtful when it comes to things like that.
Yeah, a ton of Dallas's kind of second ring suburbs are hitting that 30-year mark where it's time to start rebuilding.
Exactly.
We've been
When you say
dealing
rebuilding,
with
you mean rebuilding infrastructure, or?
yeah. New roads need to be ripped out and redone, or repaved. Some of the older lots, need to be maybe scraped and redeveloped. There's not a lot of greenfield space left in these kind of suburbs. So Richardson, Addison, Plano, they're pretty built out, and they're getting old, so they're getting more expensive. So you've got to be really careful with how you go forward. It's like, yeah, you definitely need the streets, but who's going to pay for it? Most cases, that's density. Density pays for those streets. But they don't want it at the same time. It's like even Plano is, I think, a top 50 largest city in the United States now. But they still act like they're some 90s suburb, right? It's we're playing a different ball game than we were when we first started.
Well,
and
Americans
some people.
they just don't want to feel like they're in a city. We're not a city.
No,
We're
for some reason,
kind of
yeah.
little hamlet or whatever, little village. And I think a little bit of that is just waiting. I don't want to say waiting for people to die, but So let me ask a few things. Let me get onto a few interesting topics that I want to talk about. So you guys have a Republican mayor, no? Like he backdoored himself into being Republican.
Yeah, he wasn't, and then he said, "I want to be Republican." Yeah.
So I kind of have two questions there. One, that just feels like some very juicy local political lore, and I wonder how people in general feel about it. And then two, has he been particularly bad, like Houston's mayor has recently been, even though he's not a Republican, on urbanism and transit related topics?
I don't know, David. Has he been much of anything?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So
what's his name, by the way? I forgot.
Eric Johnson.
Eric Johnson.
Yeah.
So the thing with Eric Johnson, Lord, where do I start? There's a lot of things going around the rumor mill. I've had people who have, I've had it on good authority that he switched to the Republican Party because he has statewide ambitions, and he thinks that putting an R in front of his name will help him with that. I've had from other people who are also close to him say that he actually hates being mayor, seems to not like politics anymore, and wants to get out once he's done being mayor. I don't know what to believe with this guy, but one thing that is pretty consistent: he doesn't do a whole lot. He's not proactive as mayor. I have it on good authority that he doesn't show up. He doesn't even show up to work like he should. He's just not proactive in tackling. He's not working hard every day like he should be, tackling the problems we have as far as affordability, as far as redevelopment or any sort of issue, food deserts, stuff like that. We have all kinds of issues in Dallas, and he doesn't seem to be just putting in the basic 9-to-5 work as mayor. And I don't think that's not necessarily a reflection of his party affiliation. That might just be a particular personal characteristic, of a personal flaw.
Yeah, largely agreed. As far as transit goes, he doesn't talk much on it at all. There's a far North Dallas council member who's pretty anti-DART, anti-transit in general, but her part of Dallas looks more like Frisco or Plano than it does actually Dallas, ironically. So her and Mayor Johnson vote on a lot of things very similarly, but it's not enough to usually overwhelm the mostly decent city council Dallas has. They do recognize their city. They do recognize DART is better had than defunded, that kind of stuff. They're a little slow on parking reform and maybe getting the the new comp plan with better density recommendations and stuff to get through, because they see just tremendous backlash from pretty old, wealthy people with nothing better to do type thing, and they're very aggressive and they're really quite mean. There's a lot of vitriol in local politics here against doing things that are good for cities, and it's frustrating to see. But Eric Johnson, he's more of a zero than a negative anything.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Is there a new comp plan in the works?
There was Forward Dallas, and so I mean I'm right next to Dallas. I just helped Addison do their comp plan on the Citizens Committee, and they're pretty similar. Most of the urban planning professionals even here realize that you can't finance roads with just single family. You need density. You need a variety of uses in your land use, especially when you're running out of it. So Forward Dallas was pretty good, pretty moderate. It's like, hey, you could build a fourplex in a neighborhood if you want. We've got some really large lot single family homes. I think the D Magazine quoted, I think it's either 40%. I think it's at least 40% of Dallas's land is single family homes.
That's a lot.
And then the 4% that's mixed use brings in, I think, a very comparable amount of tax money, if not more, than the 40% at a lower cost of service per capita, right? So, when they say things like, you can build a fourplex, get the gentle density in here, it makes sense, right? Nobody wants, you don't need a 20-unit apartment in every single family neighborhood, but a couple of duplexes on the street corners, if the lot size makes sense, really doesn't make a difference. And it justifies more services that can come to your town. But for some reason, people are really worried it's going to lower property values, it's going to bring too much density, and it's going to make traffic really bad. It's like, well, guys, you are traffic. You driving everywhere, you're not in traffic, you are traffic. And they don't always like to hear that.
Have you been hurt by the Trump admin? Like, we just recently got funding pulled for highway. Basically, we were going to build caps over this highway. It still might happen, but anyway, we got funding pulled for some of the elements to do that. And the light rail is up in the air here. We'll probably get some federal funding pulled for that. I'm not sure yet. Has Dallas been affected similarly?
I think it definitely gives DART like less options. It's like, we could get this funded through a federal grant. It's drying up. I think there's regional programs that are helping fund some stuff for now. I know a couple things. The deck park they're building in South Dallas, I think that's not moving as fast as it could, or some part of its funding got paused by the Trump administration. So this was going to go over I-35 on the south side of Dallas, I think near the zoo in the Oak Cliff area.
Yeah,
and,
similar to what they did with Clyde Warren.
With Clyde Warren. And it's actually being built out pretty good. We've driven past it a bit, and I think it's paused because of this, or some parts of it is. And then, what was that other thing? Oh no, I totally lost it. David, you want to take this, and I'll
sure.
I'll come back.
God, what was I wanting to say now?
Just Trump admin did it.
Right. So Trump admin. Yeah. So on the more regional and state level, but this affects DFW Dallas quite heavily, is how this is throwing a wrench into the already somewhat messy situation of trying to bring high-speed rail to Texas.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and I just recently went to the Regional Transportation Council meeting, and they were discussing that and how they're hoping to work around and through it. And then how we're needing more resources and more regional planning for transit in DFW. The RTC sent a letter to Congress recently. I haven't read through it yet, But there's a lot happening, and the whole region is concerned with the Trump administration's approach to its frankly haphazard approach to funding, um, not not perhaps being knowledgeable or understanding the value of public transit and rail services, whether it's in a, a local area like DFW or more regional or statewide, like having a high-speed rail from Dallas to Houston. These sort of things. It's a situation where things that we were hoping to solve in maybe 5 years or less, well, now it's looking like it's going to be in 10 years or maybe
Yeah.
even 15 or 20. So this could potentially their approach to governance is putting a lot of different projects far behind, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, say this, but it's like when the infrastructure bill was passed, uh, a lot of people were like, "Well, this includes a lot of money for highways. Like, that's not great,
Quite a bit.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
but
that's
it's like
true.
it was all this other money for other things that we like some transit funding and things like that.
Right.
And now it kind of, I haven't done a deep dive into this, but it kind of looks like we're getting the worst version where there's still going to be all this money for highways,
Yep.
but all of
Just
the
scrapping the rest.
transit, yeah, scrapping the rest. Now I don't know, like I think things that have already started are in a better position to keep their funding. I think the light rail project here in Austin might scrape by. I'm still not sure, but it's not great. It doesn't feel great, and for all the talk of like making America great again, it sure does not feel great when we look at all these other countries that are able to build all this infrastructure, and like we're like, well, I guess we'll build another lane, like I don't have any delusions that like highways are going away or that we won't have them, but like it's just a little sad to me that America can't seem to build anything else.
Yeah. And even like just the mindset is of like modern Republicans is kind of confusing because we have a fair few handful of Republicans in data. Some old school guys, they're pushing 80 plus, and some younger conservatives who see the value, right? They're like, hey, this makes sense from a fiscal perspective. Oh, and I also like trains. Anybody can like trains. We're cool with that. But it's like
Yeah.
the disconnect between like being fiscally conservative, where transit really can be, it can be poorly planned, but highways are not precluded from being poorly planned just because they're cars and freedom or anything, right? So hearing like your classical conservatives say, yeah, we support transit for all these reasons, and come fight with us. And I'm certainly not a conservative, and quite a few of us aren't. But like, there is sanity there, and there's a good fiscal conservative case for transit for dense development, that I think Strong Towns is doing a pretty good job of propagating.
Yes.
And even some members of my city council that are more conservative nationally, we speak the same language locally because they get it. And that's what's kind of given me some pep in my step, because there's a lot of stuff we can do locally that doesn't matter what you think about Trump, even though he's making things a lot harder for a lot of people in ways we see, in ways they might not realize. But locally, hopefully we can make some headway.
I can't agree with that more. Uncle of mine that I'm close with, my uncle Stan, he fought hard back in the 80s to bring transit, bring DART to Duncanville, Texas, which is just south of Oak Cliff. And so it's the same thing. He's more conservative than me, certainly, but he's very much into urbanism, new urbanism, and public transit, because he recognizes that fiscal sort of strong towns approach, that fiscal value to a city, because he thinks at a city level, at a local level. And so I think that's where we can make a lot of progress in terms of getting everyone transit pilled and all that, and getting them into things like urbanism. There's a space in conservatism for that as well, and so think I just want to encourage anyone who watches this, anyone concerned about these issues, to talk to conservatives and talk to people and talk about it at a local level, because a lot of the national stuff kind of just falls by the wayside when you get to local politics. And sometimes you'll have conservatives acting like liberals and liberals acting like conservatives when it comes to public transit and when it comes to urban planning and development. Things get a little more muddied, for sure. But hopefully that can be a good thing at times.
I was just talking to some folks from Taiwan, and like there, it's not, and I think in many places in the world, transit is not so polarized. It's not like a conservative or lefty thing. It's just like we have a city, we need to get people around the city. What's the most efficient way to do that? I think the obstacle for that in America is that because we're so behind, a lot of these projects are more expensive than they should be, so that can hurt the fiscal conservatism argument, because it's like, the project here in Austin is very expensive to build out. The thing is, though, is like once you have the system and you build expertise and you staff it, then you can make it cheaper, but you have to invest in it first.
Yeah, like scaling up a rail line is so much cheaper to provide the equivalent service than it would be to add another lane, build a highway extension, add a tollway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I was
just run more trains.
I was at a TxDOT public meeting, speaking with the engineers, and they're proposing, of course, another highway expansion on I-20. And I said, you have the red line that ends right around here. You have clearly high demand for just commuters, people commuting. They're not needing door-to-door things. They're needing to get to like downtown Dallas. You have a huge mass of people going from one end of the metroplex to the other. And you have this highway continuing to get backed up. Not to mention having deadly crashes and such. I talked to these engineers. I said, wouldn't it make sense rather than I'm like, is it true or not that after you expand it in 10 years, in like most studies show, in about 5 or 10 years, you'll be back to the same amount of bumper and bumper traffic? And they sighed and they're like, yeah. And then I'm like, wouldn't it be better? And there's still space, and clearly you have the space and the right of way, because you're talking about expansion. Instead, why don't we keep what we have and build a train line and connect it to DART downtown and this sort of thing? And why don't we have some sort of rail service here? Because clearly there'd be demand for it. It would see heavy use. Why don't we put they just shrugged their shoulders. They're like, that's just they didn't know what to say.
I'm with you. So on that note, kind of wrapping up here, what do you think is the hardest, or what is the most pressing issue for Dallas area transit and urbanism that you'd like to see addressed, or maybe it's a looming problem that you're concerned about?
So I think it's something we're seeing right now. So we alluded to it at the beginning of the podcast here, but there are suburbs that are feeling the squeeze of lack of Trump administration funding, state funding, trying to get rid of property tax, get rid of valuable revenue services for the city, local NIMBYs saying they don't want dense development that brings that value as these cities are growing and feeling age-related pains in their infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So the first thing they're looking for is that they need money to fix these very real problems. The first thing they're looking at is transit, because they're like, well, we didn't build out our city. We think people don't use transit. They don't ask their citizens this, but they realize transit is easiest to get politically. So that's why they went to Austin, and they said, we want, Plano, Irving, and a few other cities, a few of us, we want our money back. We want to be able to use it. And it's really in our view, to fix those funding gaps. And so as long as cities see transit as a piggy bank and not an economic development
Resource.
engine,
Mhm.
like Addison, fortunately, for the most part, does. Richardson does. A lot of Dallas does. They get it. Transit-oriented development, that kind of stuff that's the money in the long term. As long as cities don't see the value in transit that they're already a part of, they're going to keep trying to break it open to plug holes in their budget, and that's what's been killing us the past year. And it's putting DART in some tricky situations to give equity funding here and there, which cuts service from South Dallas or cuts paratransit, just to give some cities some money so they don't go to the legislator and try to get us killed, right? That is probably our biggest threat right now.
David, anything to add to that?
Not too much. Tyler covered it. I would just say I would have to emphasize that part where we lack long-term thinking, long-term strategic thinking when it comes to transit, to urban planning and development. So these cities are feeling that crunch, and rather than tackling the problem with a long-term strategy, which would involve things like increased density, transit-oriented development, trying to work with DART rather than work against it, that would be a long-term strategy. Unfortunately, they're thinking very narrowly and very, very short-sighted. They're thinking about the next 2 years or next 5 years when they need to think about the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
And think on a longer time frame. It's an age-old story.
Yeah. Very quickly, what is the most NIMBY neighborhood in Dallas?
Oh, man. I think I'll take one. I live pretty close to it. It's the Pepper Square. Just south of it, there's a nice big neighborhood. They've actually got a public park that has 2 parking spots in one of their cul-de-sacs. So it's basically a private park. But they're just south of Preston and Beltline. And a gentleman named Damien Levesque has started like a YouTube channel to recall the former city councilman because they wanted to redevelop this aging shopping center into a mixed-use development. Mixed-use development is actually pretty sick. It was really cool. And it would have kept to the original, a lot of the anchor stores like the Trader Joe's and stuff like that. So popular places. That neighborhood just south of Preston and Beltline is easily the biggest NIMBYs that I've seen in recent memory.
Same answer, David? Or?
Yeah, I'll just
Highland
defer.
See, at least they can't tell Dallas what to do, right?
Yeah,
because they're their own city, for
they're
better or
their own
worse.
city, technically.
The only place I've seen an actual car chase, by the way, like an actual speeding through the intersection car chase, was in Highland Park.
Oh my God.
So I don't know how much safer they are really, but
Well, cool, y'all. Hey, please promote whatever. How can people find you, and how would you like people to keep up with data?
Sure. So we got a couple things going. So all of our socials are at Ride with Data. The r/Dart Reddit is pretty active. And we have a website, DallasAreaTransitAlliance.org. Please find us there. We've got a few campaigns. If any of you guys that are listening live in the Dallas area, particularly the Dallas service area, we have campaigns going on our website where you can email your city council to tell them to keep full funding. So we've got a Discord going as well. All the socials linked on the website. Come find us. Come chat. We've got people who like to talk even more than we do. So even if you just need some advice on how to take the bus in Dallas, just come find us, and we'll be happy to welcome you into our community.
Awesome. You're doing God's work. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for coming on.
Thanks for the opportunity, Thomas. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having us. I enjoyed this.